Hey folks, it's me again. As I came indoors this morning to take care of my seedlings and realized that I needed to do a little potting up, well actually not potting up, blocking up, I thought I would just jump on here and let you guys kind of see what I'm doing. So I'm going to take you over here. We're looking at, this is some celosia seedlings, and these will never be potted up. They go straight to the garden in this little small block. However, there is the occasion that I do pot up from a small block to the larger block, which is like, let me grab one here. This is the 2-inch block. And I don't know if you guys can see, look at the amazing roots. This is eucalyptus. So first, let me just say, when do I ever use the 2-inch block? Because that's what I get that question a lot. They'll say, oh, I thought you never used it. First off, I try not to use the word never. I try to do whatever is needed. You know what I mean? It's like I'm not one way or the highway kind of person. So it is true that I use the small blocker 99.9% of the time. And there are great benefits to starting any seed that'll fit into a small block in a small block. However, there are times that we need to pot up from the small block to the large block. And I only do that in a couple of instances normally. Slow growers, that would be eucalyptus, which you're looking at here. These are like, oh my goodness. Let's see, this is March. These were started in early January. I mean, if that had been a celosia, it'd have been huge by now, right? So these I hope you can see. These were small blocks that were potted up into the big block, which I'm getting ready to show you how I do that. So eucalyptus, I would do this with probably Dusty Miller, which is another really slow grower. So it's only the super slow growers that have to be started way before you can actually plant them outdoors. Unlike celosias and all the other warm season tender annuals, we start them in the small block and they go out to the garden in that block once they're the proper size. And so this is what I am going to be potting up here. This is the other time, I should have thought about this, y'all, before I got you on here. Let me make a spot here. The other time that I pot up into these are 2-inch blocks that I made before y'all came on that have the insert. This is the blocker. And that black insert doesn't come on the block, but it is available for you to purchase to put on your blocker in the event that you want to do this. And I would recommend that anybody that buys a 2-inch blocker also get the inserts. So these are my tomato transplants. And of course, we don't sell transplants. We grow tomatoes for our members only market as well as for our own personal use. And we have learned that tomatoes and peppers really benefit from being bigger when they go to the garden. And so the way that I do that is we start all of our tomatoes. This is 160 tomato plants, believe it or not. Each little set of blocks has a different variety in it. And now I am going to pot up some of those, and they're the perfect little size. I wanted to first show you guys, this is just a plant ID stick. I would never attempt to pull these blocks apart. First off, they're very wet. I just watered earlier this morning. But it does so much better. I'm trying to see if I can get rid of the comments because it's hard for me to see what y'all are seeing. So what I have done is I'm going to pot up the Big Beefs, my two favorites, Big Beef and Sun Gold. These are the two that are so important to our members only market. So what I do is, just as a precaution, I take my stick and literally just cut them apart both ways before I even attempt to lift them out. So let's see how that worked. So this really is, not bad at all, y'all. So I got the block, and you can see there's a little bit of a root there going on. So literally, this is all it takes to pot them up. So I am going to just literally drop this boy right into the hole, and a part of his little block fell off. And that is the end of that story, y'all. It is that simple. Let's do another one. See, it's hard for me. I'm telling you, doing Facebook Lives or doing any videoing by yourself is a challenge, because what I see is not what you guys see, and it's kind of just tough. So it's cut apart. Look at those beautiful little roots. It is staged to continue growing on, and then I'm just going to drop it right down into that hole. And I'll tell you this, if you wait too long to pot it up and you got a bunch of roots hanging down, I just take a pair of scissors and clip them. There is no sense to tangle them all up and push them down in that hole. It's just not necessary. So let's do one more. And so these are really at the perfect stage. So they just have, their roots are just starting to break through. And I'm just dropping it in the little hole and giving it a little tuck. And that's it. And so you can see how I've placed, so I'm going to be able to put Big Beef and Sun Gold on this one tray. I don't mind mixing varieties on a tray for this growing on stage. I would never do that in the seed starting stage. But I've left the blocks so that there's plenty of room for water to move around. It just makes watering them so much easier, because I will tell you, once these guys start growing and you see them in about 2 or 3 weeks, they're going to be gorgeous transplants, and they really need to be able to have access. I need to be able to get a lot of water to the block so that they can completely get hydrated. I still only water them once a day, even though we're in this super hot room. So this is Big Beef, which I'm going to start at the other end of the block. So I don't think I've ever shared that our super high-tech way of identifying our seedlings is masking tape, y'all. Masking tape sticks, and then we use our garden, what do you call them? I don't think there's one in here. There is not. Oh, wait, here's one. This is called we do not sell these anymore. We used to. I'm sure you can find them online. A garden marker. And this is just not sensitive to UV rays, and it's better than a Sharpie, like 100 times better than a Sharpie. So we use this on masking tape that sticks to our soil blocking trays. And so I will be able to identify, and you can see I was tearing this off. Not everybody that's here feels the necessity to pull the old off, but it does help when you're trying to identify what's growing in there. It's like, oh, is that the last thing that was planted in there, or is that what's planted in there now? So I will kind of move the block so I know that this half is Sun Gold and that half is Big Beef, and they will just happily grow on. So let's do a Big Beef here. And I've already cut these apart. And looky there, these beautiful little transplants. You know what else I would do this with is eggplant. Any of those kind of slower growing plants that just really would benefit from having some extra time growing indoors, so you have a larger transplant. And I've often said that, you know, when I'm in the Northeast or in the North anywhere teaching seed starting, then I always talk about potting up, because their growing season is so much shorter than ours. So they need a larger transplant to go to the garden. So this is super beneficial. And I'm telling you, once you grow these plants in large soil blocks and see the roots and how healthy and how much faster they grow in the garden, you'll just never go back to it another way. However, it is not necessary for these fast-growing annuals like celosias and zinnias and ageratum and all of those guys. And so this is actually celosia karumi red orange. And in fact, we have started our warm season tender annuals a little earlier this year because, we're pushing the envelope because we have a garden tour here April 22nd, which is 1 week after our normal expected frost date. Really too early to plant these guys. But we are taking extraordinary measures to provide for them. And what does that mean? I'm doing two things. We're making our beds ASAP with the black biodegradable film on top so that soil is already going to be starting to warm up. And then we're going to be hooping and covering these transplants that'll be planted probably 10 days before the tour, which means really iffy, but we are taking extraordinary measures so we can really do that. Plus, all of this first round of annuals will be pinched in the tray. And if you want to learn more about seed starting and soil blocking, or if you're interested in the equipment to do it, there is a link on this Facebook Live to all of our seed starting equipment and my online course teaching you how to soil block and how to sow seeds and get them to germinate and be beautiful like you're seeing here in my grow room. What you have to know is that I do everything here in a room. I do not have any greenhouses on my urban farm, so you can also do that too. So here is just a great example. Look at the roots on this eucalyptus. I mean, it just grows extraordinary transplants. So I'm just going to continue on. I'm going to pot up my big beefs and my sun golds, and then I have another little job I have to go and do. But all of these tomatoes will be potted up into this 2-inch 2-inch block, and then we'll stay in the grow room here, and they might go out for some daytime hardening off, but our nights are still way too cold for them. So it's that time of the year where I don't mind doing a little tending to get the biggest plant. So we have beautiful transplants for Historic Garden Week because our farm's on the tour this year. So hope this helps somebody, and check out our seed starting equipment. Has online courses, all the soil blockers. We have hoops, row cover, the black biodegradable film, everything you need to be successful. So let's get started, guys. The season is almost upon us. Ciao.